Hey, good morning, everyone. We are going over Intro Week 4, House Church Vision. This is kind of a clincher week because we're kind of do a brief summary of what we went over the last 4 weeks. One thing we've always said is that our values always steer and direct our implementation or our strategy. And this is kind of the week where the rubber meets the road, because everything we've talked about prior, the last 4 weeks, where we've talked about biblical worldview in the gospel, what we're saved from, what are we saved for, we talked about the glory of God, we talked about the kingdom of God, and last week we talked about the family of God, the church. And so this week we're taking those 4 main values and we're going to use those values to direct us into how we live our lives in the day-to-day. And so the very beginning part of Week 4 document, we talk about values that drive the strategy and vision. And so I lay those 4 out there: biblical worldview and gospel, the glory of God, kingdom of God, and family of God. And I think it's important to not spend a ton of time here, but just briefly reiterate how important biblically those 4 are. And not only how important they are, but how they can't be separated. You can't talk about biblical worldview and the gospel and separate that from the glory of God. How the glory of God connects to the kingdom of God. God doesn't get glory unless His domain, unless His government is there. And how does the kingdom of God get advanced? God has chosen, as we went through last week, the church, the family of God, to reveal and to reclaim His dominion back into the nations. So they're inseparable. You can't talk about one and not the other. And I just think it's really good to hit that in a very brief way. So we're getting right into the nitty-gritty of what is a house church. And this is so important because so many people come from backgrounds of different cell groups, home groups, Bible studies, home fellowships, home groups, whatever. And so when you say somebody going to house church, that can mean a lot of things to different people. And so our goal this week is to define that. And so we take some time to take the first sentence out of here. It says, a house church is a missional community of believers who merge their lives together each year for the purpose of knowing God deeper and making Him known to our city. And I go through a little bit more detail talking about how they're not autonomous, yet they're not dependent, they're interdependent, and how the local church interacts with the house church. And so I'm really pleased with how this part came out. I think it'll bring a lot more clarity. Not only do we talk about what a house church is, we also talk what a house church is not. There's 5 different points there. It's not a Bible study. It's not a come one, come all, hangout fellowship time, or an autonomous group, and different things. Those are going to be really important to talk about because I think that'll be helpful to let those who are going to be joining your house church that year be able to identify, hey, this is what we're signing up for. So those are there. And then we go through what is the house church mission. And I just took that there and just did a brief shot at it because this is where we get to walk out the first and second commandment. Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. We get to walk those out, and we get to walk, as we follow those 2 commandments, it leads us into the Great Commission, which is go make disciples of all nations. So the mission of the house church is to love God, love each other, and make disciples together. It's the first commandment, second commandment, and the Great Commission. It's the place we see we get to practically walk that out. And so in a very simple way, that's something that we can all communicate effectively and consistently, so that doesn't change. So if anybody goes to the house, hey, what's the point of this house church? What are we here for? What's our mission? At a very quick shot, that's the mission. We're here to love God, love each other, and make disciples together. The first and second commandment and the Great Commission. So, and then we describe the goals of each member of the house church with the 5 C's. This is where a lot of the time and weight is going to land probably for this week. We talk about knowing and experiencing Christ. We talk about growing in community. We talk about developing Christ-like character, and then discovering your calling in the body. And I put about, 10 to 15 subpoints under each one just to help people identify with what that may look like in their life. And towards the end of it, we just had a few questions that we added that said, hey, kind of a little bit review, and then a couple questions going, hey, how what areas in your life do you desire to grow in related to the 5 C's? Just name a few. So that would be a good discussion point towards the end. In light of the 5 C's being the personal growth goals for each member in the house church that we want to hear and we want to follow up on and we want to fight for, will be a great conversation starter to get us on mission together as a house church. So, hope this serves you guys well. Again, summarize the core values over the last 4 weeks of what we've talked about: the gospel, the glory of God, the kingdom of God, the family of God. Briefly talk about how they're inseparable and how they're connected to each other, and how those values at a local church level are going to direct our strategy with our house churches. So define the house church, define what the house church is not, define the mission of the house church, and define the goals for each member in the house church, which is the 5 C's. Should be an exciting week. Hope it goes well for you. Looking forward to our time together next Saturday morning with the Dillons. Hope you guys can make it. Sent you an email. Still waiting for some of you to reply so we can plan for it. So anyway, have a great day. Talk to you guys soon. Bless you.